Hello, it's your Jetta Cars here, and I want to show you what you can do with the palette knife. So I'm going to use my little small palette knife. It comes to a point, and I have some colors here, and I want to show you how we can make these different shapes. So I'm taking my knife, I'm picking up a little bit of paint, and what I'm going to do is I'm carefully going to put one color under the next. So I'm just picking up a little bit of a color and I'm just dragging it. Just picking up a little bit of the color and I'm dragging it. And I can make these little shapes. Okay? And I can even make them closer together if I want. The other thing that I can do is I can flatten this out, and then I can do the same thing by digging in with my knife. So I have this piece of paint that I kind of digged in with my knife, and I have the texture, as you can see. So again, let's do it here. I can just dig in and I have that texture. Or I can do it the way I did, pick up and do it the other way. Okay? I'll do it one more time the other way by picking it up and dragging it across. The other thing that I can do is I can put another color on top. So I'll show you how we do that. I'm going to clean my knife. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this darker color, and I'm just going to lie it very gently on top. Pretty simple. Okay? I can also take that darker color, and if I lie it down very gently, I can go in between these spaces, and the colors don't mix. So the colors are not mixing. Now if I press hard with the color, now I can blend those colors together. Okay, so this is just putting it on top with the knife, and this is where I'm blending it. I'm going to change this. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to blend those colors. Okay? And I can keep adding more and more colors on top. So let's do another color that you will be able to see, like say we had an orange. You can keep layering those colors on top of each other until you have even a really thick texture. So let's use this orange as an example. And I'm going to very carefully try not to blend them. I'm just going on top, barely touching it. And I get that. Okay? Or I can press hard with my knife, and what happens is I get that. Okay? So see where this is a softer transition and this is a little bit harsher. And I can keep building those colors up on each other. I can even put another color on top of there, and it's good just to practice this. Just see how many colors that you can get without them blending. And it's just with the small knife. See how much texture you can get. Okay, so I'm going to go on top of here again, and again I'm not blending these colors, I'm just barely touching them on top, one on top of another, and I still have a lot of paint left on my knife, and I can keep building up those colors. Okay, and I get that real fast. Or I can have a little bit on my knife and I can press really hard. You see, if I press really hard, the colors start blending. Let's do it again. I'm going to press here, and I'm bringing the greens in, and they're blended. Okay, so you can see the difference of what's happening here when all those colors are blending together, and how when we have all these colors, they're not really blended together and you can see them separate. Okay, so I'll show you that again. These are blended, right? And these are not. You see how they're one on top of each other? I'm going to show you something. The cool thing about the knife is once you have colors together, you can have, let's say we're putting a little bit of this purple down here, okay, and then I'm going to wipe my knife off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay some green on top of it, okay. So I'm laying one color on top of another, and practice this with the knife, and then you have a little bit of a lighter color, and practice laying that on top. So you have one color on top of another color on top of another color, and they're not blended, right? And see if you can try that control. Okay, so we're still with the small knife. I'm going to clean the back of my knife, and I want to show you something. I'm going to put one more color. I'm going to put an orange on top of it. So now I have these 4 colors on top of each other. Look at the back of my knife, right? And I'll show you what happens if I take my knife and I kind of go like this. See, I got all the color off of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color that I made, and I'm going to take the side of my knife, okay, so not the back, the side, and I'm going to drag it down, and I can remove that paint. Oh, look, I just put it all on the back of my knife. Do you see how I removed that very easily? I can just scrape it off, right? And I can scrape it off all together. Sometimes students like to do that when they want to get this transparency. You see how you see a little bit of the purple left, but now it's a light purple and a dark purple. So that's just kind of scraping it off, and you're only using the edge of your knife to get that transparency. So again, try this for the small knife, building one color on top of another, pressing, letting it blend, and trying this transparency here. Now I'll show you something. Let's take some green, right, and we're going to go in the green, and we're just going to kind of label it over this purple. Okay, pretty simple, right? And then I'm going to go and I'm going to scrape it out again, and I get that. Okay, and you can keep doing that. You can do it with another color just to practice your transparency. And I'm going to go in between where that purple was, and I'm going to put some orange. Take my palette knife, clean it off on my rag, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to scrape this off again, and I get that. Okay, so these are some things that you can practice with the small knife, and I'll show you something else. The next thing you can do is practice just using the tip of the knife. So we're going to just use the tip of the knife, and what I'm going to do, I'll do it down here, is I'm going to press, and I'm just going to make these little dots next to each other. They're nothing special, but they work when you want to have these small little dots. Okay, and then what I can do is I'll do a contrasting color in between so you can see how that pops out. And you have to be really careful. That's why I say practice these tips on a piece of paper first. They really help you. Okay, you kind of get that. You see, and then you can go in with another color in between. Maybe I can go in with a purple like in between here, but try with 2 different colors. So it's just basically taking the palette knife, pressing it, and lifting it up. It's kind of like press and release till you get this. Right, practice all these colors together. Practice blending the colors. And then again, practice doing the transparency, scraping it out. Okay, those are some things that you might want to practice with the small knife. And then we'll do one other thing. I want to show you something. Say for an example, you have this purple up here and you're pressing it and you're just doing this. We're going to move it all around. And we get this cool kind of texture. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lighter color on top of that, and I'm going to use this beige just so you can see it, and I'm doing the same thing, and I'm kind of pressing, and I'm going back with this beige and picking it up, And it's blending really nicely. Okay, and I'll use the rest of this orange in here, why not? And like I said, you can try any color that you want. It doesn't have to be these colors. You might try different colored greens together, blues, and you get this. Okay, and do you see how that doesn't look muddy and you're able to see each color? You have to practice how to press. Otherwise, if you press too hard, you're going to get, and they're all going to mulch together and you're not going to like it. Okay, so those are some things you could practice with the small knife. Okay, the last thing that you can practice is trying to do different swirls. So I'm going to do these swirls, and I'm doing like these half circles. Do you see this? It's almost like almost forming the letter C, but I'm not. Okay. I got these little swirls here. Okay, so practice those little trips, those little tips with the knife, and see how well that you do. See you next time. I'll show you what to do with another knife.